Hi guys, welcome back to Rybrook TV, and over my shoulder is the new 2023 BMW X3 M Competition LCI. Now, the X3 M Competition has actually been with us for quite a while now, but recently they did this, the LCI. Now, for those of you that don't know what LCI means, it's life cycle impulse. Basically, a bit of a facelift, a bit of a tweak to bring it up to date. And I've actually not driven this new LCI yet. So I thought, well, what better opportunity than jump behind the wheel and see if BMW have made the changes that it required. But let's start, before we go and jump in and go for a drive, let's look at some of the changes to the exterior and the interior. Starting here at the front end, they've made a few changes, a little styling cues that make it a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more angular, slightly narrower lights on the front. This particular car has got carbon fibre absolutely everywhere as well. So the front grills have got carbon around them, the little intakes down the bottom here have got carbon too, and it looks fantastic in this black sapphire. Along the side, pretty much nothing has changed. It's still the typical X3 style that you've come to expect. The look, etc. hasn't changed. Larger alloy wheels, M specific on this particular car. The vents on the side have got carbon fibre on this car too. And of course, we've got M wing mirrors with the little cutouts at the top. Around the rear, we've got new tail lights, which if you're an avid video gamer, especially on Xbox, they look a little bit like the energy swords from Halo. That's my geeky side coming out. We've got quad tailpipes on this car. It's got the rear spoiler on it, a slightly wider, bigger rear diffuser and bumper, and again, more carbon on this particular car. Inside the X3 M Comp is a beautiful place to sit. If you're familiar with BMW design language, it's going to feel very familiar. It feels like an X3, just with a few more little trinkets to mark it apart. Starting with directly in front of you, the M buttons in red. The start-stop button is in red. You've got carbon fibre trim on the dash. And finally, we have these superb M seats. They are so figure-hugging and fantastic to sit in. It makes any long journey feel not like a long journey. Other than that, it feels typical X3, so there's plenty of space, loads of headroom. We've got this gorgeous panoramic sunroof, which just makes everything in here feel so light and airy. There is loads of room in the back, demonstrated here by the child seat behind me. We've also got the amazing amount of standard specification on this car. So you've got wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay on the 12.3 inch touchscreen. Correct me if I'm wrong, that's from memory. We're running BMW's operating system 7 control unit. We've got all the dual zone climate control, the heated seats, the leather, the everything you're ever going to need. This particular car has heads-up display, Harman Kardon sound system, adaptive cruise control, heated steering wheel, everything you're ever going to need. It feels just like a really nice, high-quality place to sit. Everything you feel and touch is exceptional quality, feels well built, nice and sturdy. It's just a perfect place to sit. It's what we've come to expect from BMW. But what a BMW makes me want to do more than anything, especially an M product like this, is turn the thing on and go for a drive. So then, welcome to the driver's seat of the new BMW X3 M Competition. Now let's start by addressing some of the things that I didn't like about the previous one. And these are universal. They were kind of very well documented. It was a little bit too bouncy. It was not that comfortable on the road. And the S58 3-litre 6-cylinder twin turbocharged petrol up front lacked a bit of character. So what I want to find out is, has BMW addressed all of these things with the new LCI? And well, from driving it for around 5 minutes, you can tell BMW has listened. Firstly, let's start with the ride. I'm currently in efficient comfort. Everything just dialed back into its everyday setting. And yes, it still has a little bit of a hard edge. It's an M car after all. It needs to have that little bit of harshness in the ride, but it's significantly improved. BMW has adjusted the dampers, the suspension, and a few other areas of the chassis to make it more compliant on British roads, and I think they've succeeded. As I say, yes, it still has a little bit of a hard edge in places, but I want that from an M car. I want it to feel a little bit hard and rough. I don't want it to be super soft and wallowy. I want it to be rigid and a bit more firm, because that way you know you're in something pretty special. And secondly, the S58. It was actually the first time we ever saw this new engine. It was slotted into the original X3 M and X4 M Competition, and you could tell there was a lot of potential there, but it almost just felt like it was a little bit reined back, which actually is really strange because the power output is exactly the same, around 500 horsepower. 0 to 62 is around 4 seconds, actually a little bit less, about 3.8 now in the X3 M Competition. But there's something about the engine, it almost feels like it's being unleashed a little bit. Let's pop it into manual. Let's go down here into the setup. Let's stick the engine across into Sport Plus. And well, just listen and feast your eyes on this. Yeah, she picks up and she absolutely hurtles you down the road with an unbelievable, just constant, relentless surge of power and torque. We've got an 8-speed ZF automatic gearbox, which in auto just shifts seamlessly, and then in manual the shifts are lightning quick. You barely even notice the change. Downshifts are nice and quick and responsive. There you go. There's a nice rasp to the engine as well, and I don't know whether that's pumped through the speakers or whether it's exhaust. Now I have to stick a GoPro on the exhaust so we can kind of work that out, but it now feels like a slightly more grown-up product. It feels more sorted on the road. I remember the previous one, especially on roads like this that's really potholy and undulating, there's lots of crests and bumps and so on, which would have unsettled the previous car. It now feels much more stable and much more settled on the road. Yes, as I say, there is a bit of vertical movement, there's a bit of bumping, but I want that. I want that for my M product. It makes you feel like you're in something really capable and really special. The steering also now feels improved. In the previous one, it was kind of a little bit numb, but I think they've taken the learnings from the new M3 and M4 for this car, because it feels so much more responsive on the steering. You can feel the road much better in this particular car. Yeah, you feel really confident with this thing to open it up. Oh, it's an absolute barnstormer, this thing. Boy, it shifts, and it gives you real confidence when you're throwing it into a bend that it's gonna stick. It is a rear-wheel drive biased all-wheel drive system in this car, like it is in the M3 and the M4, and you can tell it's got a bit of playfulness to it. It feels like it can snap out if you want it to. Yeah, it's mighty impressive. It's so fast across the ground, this thing. Yeah, it fills you with confidence. You can drive this car. You really can drive this car. The brakes feel mighty. And that powertrain now is really special. It's just relentless. It does not stop pulling. It's such a ferocious power plant that it just, I mean, drop it down here, national speed limit. It's just relentless. It just pulls like a freight train and does not stop. But being quick was never the previous car's problem. It was always fast across the ground. But what BMW seem to have done here is add more character into the car, make it feel more settled on the road, make it feel more like a driver's car now than the original X3 M. It's more refined, it's more honed, and you feel more at one with the car than before. And what they've done to the suspension and so on has made it more usable on a daily basis. It's now a great all-round car. If the M3 and M4 feel a little bit too low down for you, the X3 M Competition is a fantastic alternative if you want that little bit higher driving position. And it's fantastic. As I've already mentioned, I love the way it looks. The interior is phenomenal. You get incredible standard equipment on the car. It's brilliant. It is absolutely brilliant. All the changes that BMW have made have worked. This is now a brilliant car. And if you want any more information on the BMW X3 M, please contact your nearest Rybrook BMW retailer using the link in the description of this video. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel for plenty more content to come. And we'll see you guys again really soon.